Good morning, Central High School. My name is Shara Weiss. I'm the Library Media Specialist here at Central High School. And today I have Mr. Cody Christopher, who's a science teacher here at the high school, a beloved science teacher. That's a lot of fun. The kids love. And we're going to talk a little bit about his reading habits. So, Cody, just right up front, can you tell us what you like to read or what you read for fun?
Yeah, some of my favorite books are fiction books in terms of just reading like a full book. I do like reading science articles. It's neat to kind of get some of the new information that's out there. Um, just go online, find anything new that's going on with that. So just kind of
Okay.
keep up to date with some of the science stuff as well.
Can you give us an idea of a book that's made a big impact in your life?
So, in terms of a book that I found really interesting, I guess when I was in fourth grade, maybe, Jurassic Park, the movie came out, and I just always thought it was a movie and just left it at that. Loved the movie. So then, I guess in high school, I found out that it was a book, but I didn't pick it up to read it. I was still kind of like, okay, whatever. And in college, I finally was like, I'm just going to go out and read this because I thought it'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I read it, I was blown away. There was so much science in it, more than I ever thought it would be, because I thought the movie was full of it and that was great. And then from there, I was like, wow, this is really cool. One of the other books that series that I just started reading is the Unwind series. And that has completely blown me away. It's all fiction, but it has a lot of basis in things that we socially deal with now.
Mm-hmm.
And it really affected me. I mean,
That book affected me as well. When I read it, it was like a bad car wreck. I couldn't quit
I
reading.
know.
At times, my stomach even hurt.
Yeah.
And I was
Well,
like, "Oh my gosh!"
I'll never forget during the first book, I got to a portion of the book, which I'm not going to give up because it's awesome. But as I was sitting there, I had to stop reading it.
That's how.
Like I closed the book, put it down, and I just sat there on the stairs, head in my hand, and then I couldn't read anymore. I had to stop. It really affected me.
Awesome. And those are the kind of connections we want all students to have with books, that they find that's something that they like to read so much that it invokes those kinds of feelings. Because then I think that's part of our human condition.
Yeah.
In relating to people and things. So you, from the fourth grade on, you had this love of science. You were a science teacher, Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park. Did you read his other stuff? Because I tell kids all the time, if you find one author that you like his style, chances are you're going to love his other stuff.
So I had an unconventional way of coming to reading. I did not enjoy reading at all. I actually hated reading, and I think it really stemmed back to in second grade, I was in a reading recovery class. I just was put into that class
Really?
because I was a low reader.
I was a low reader
And
too.
I had such a difficult time with it. Like I think I just didn't find the connections with the books, and I didn't really find anything that really like a niche that I fit into when it came to reading. It was always about struggling with understanding
Right.
what I was reading, the comprehension, and so on and so forth. So my real love didn't come for reading until after high school. I was a late bloomer.
Well, and that's funny. As I interview other teachers, some of them are saying the same thing. So, all of you non-readers, we want you to come back in a few years and tell us what you're reading. But that's awesome. What are some books that you never finished? Have you had any instances where, and people have guilt, and I've talked to several teachers, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed to tell you this was part of my college. I couldn't do it." Do you have a book like that?
So
You're like,
it had nothing to do with college. It actually had to do with just leisure reading. I started reading a book and I loved it. It was so full of history. I actually have it right over here in my bookcase.
Okay.
It's called The Historian, and I really like history. So it was cool because as I read the synopsis, it was about vampires too, and I am a huge supernatural fan. I love anything that's dealing with the supernatural, and I started reading it, and it's so wordy. Like it's just full of all of this history and just really cool information I didn't know about. And as I'm reading it, it was great, but it just like bogged me down. And at the time that I was reading it, I was so busy with other stuff because it was during college,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept finding myself pushing it off to the side. And so, I mean, 2, 3 years went by, and I still like I pick it up every now and then put it away, pick it up, put it away. And I was reading other stuff as that was going on. But yeah, it was just one of those. I still haven't finished it, and I mean, I'm over halfway done. It's just, and I would like to, but
So it's still on
it's
the
still
to-do
it's still on the
list.
to-do list.
So where and when do you like to read, or how often do you read for pleasure?
So, I mean, the nice thing about what we do here at the school is with SSR, it's a great time for me to read because it makes me stop my life. It
That's
makes me
great.
stop and say, read, let's do this. A lot of weekends are spent, like I'll either wake up early on a Saturday morning,
Mm-hmm.
drink some coffee, pull out my book. Because for me, it's one of those things where I get to take a break. It forces me to take a break and just kind of relax and escape into this world that I'm reading.
Checking our time here. We got a minute. I want to show his device. So tell me about, some people don't like reading on a tablet. Tell us your experience with that.
So I would definitely say I'm like a hybrid reader.
Mm-hmm.
I love, a good old book, smelling the pages. Something about it is almost, it gave me chills just doing that because it's like, it's nostalgia.
Yeah,
It's so
it
nice
is.
to have that. But any e-reader, like I have my iPad that I read from. What's nice about my iPad is I don't have to worry, like if I'm reading in the dark, it's backlit, so I don't have to worry
Mm-hmm.
about turning on a light. Um, I can really take multiple books wherever I go.
Right.
So if I don't want to read this one book and I want to pick up the other one that I'm reading, because I'm ADD when I read, I have to read like 5 books at a time.
Yeah, I can't
Um,
do that. How do you manage and keep track of reading multiple
I don't
books at
know.
the same
I'm
time?
really like I always say that I'm good at like compartmentalizing, and I remember pretty much everything. Like I can recall things in books that I read 4 or 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and people who've read the same book are like, "You remember that?" And I just do, and it's just one of those things that when I go back to a book, even if I've taken months off, I can really pick back
That's
up and
awesome.
I know what
I have to
happened.
power through. I can't do it. So here's a question that could stump you.
Okay.
If you could require our president to read one book, what would it be?
Oh man, I read so much fiction.
That's how I am.
Do you know what? This Unwind series wouldn't be a terrible thing. I mean, because it deals with so many social
Yeah,
problems. Well, one specific social issue, and the way that they confront it, and just looking at the society and how society changes because of one single event. Um, I think could be eye opening, not just for him, but for a lot of people. And so I'm constantly like trying to push this on kids and be like, you need to read this. It's really cool because it does have like the entertainment factor to it,
hmm
but it also has a lot of like take home
yeah,
things like that you can take
and it's a
away
former
from it.
award book, and we do have it in the library,
Yeah.
and the sequels.
Well, the
to
funny
it as
thing
well.
is, she was the one who got me to read the Unwind series. She said, "Hey, I think you'd really like this book," and I'm like, "Okay." She was really good about like giving me suggestions, and she had a really good idea of my profile, my reading profile,
Cool.
and it was awesome. Like I picked it up
Thank
and
you.
I fell in love.
If you could meet a writer, any writer, dead or alive, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
No surprise, you already mentioned him, Michael Crichton.
Okay.
And the reason with Michael Crichton, he went to school to be an MD, and he had his medical degree, and
I didn't know that.
then went into being an author and wrote some of these awesome novels. Like I just finished a book a couple months ago called Prey, and it was about nanotechnology. And I'm not a big like that doesn't usually
hmm
speak to me, but the way that he writes, it's so intelligent and knowledgeable, and I really enjoyed it. And I
Okay.
would think it'd be great to know.
We're getting ready to run out of time, so stay tuned for part 2.